Today's guest is Rashi Malhotra, a sommelier turned real estate advisor and the founder of Rashi NYC at Coldwell Banker Warburg, where she works with discerning buyers and sellers across Manhattan and Brooklyn. Originally from India, Rashi came to New York City without a job and without a roadmap, just a conviction that this was where she was meant to be. She built her first career in advertising, her second in fine dining and hospitality, rising to general manager at some of New York's most celebrated restaurants and wine bars. When COVID brought that world to a halt, she made a quiet, deliberate decision to start over and founded her own real estate brand from the ground up. Beyond her professional journey, she is a mentor, a sommelier, and someone who has built her life and her career across continents, histories, and reinventions. Her story is a reminder that the skills you build never disappear. They just wait for you to be brave enough to take them somewhere new. Ashi, thank you so much for joining us on the Exit Interview podcast.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I am so interested to hear more about the different careers you've had. And that's one reason that I reached out to you. Seemed very fascinating to me. So let's start at the very beginning. Tell us about the time when you moved from India, a completely different culture, to the United States, and how you navigated the shift in cultures and the different challenges that you faced.
Well, thank you so much. That introduction was lovely. It's kind of nice to go back to it and see how much you can accomplish in a lifetime, to be honest. My move from India to the US was kind of something that we were looking forward to as a family. If we weren't expecting it, but it suddenly came through and I was able to come here with a green card. That allowed me to know that this is the place I'm going to be in. And I moved to Colorado when I came. So I usually tell people it was soft landing because it was in the mountains, and Colorado was just such a nice place to come to after living in Delhi growing up. So, the shift was, I was young. It was very exciting. I was ready to take on something new. I've been fearless from the beginning, or maybe I would say over the years, it's become a little more easier for me to adjust, but I had a great time. I was excited. I came in to Colorado. I started studying. I went to CU Boulder, finished my education there, and I started working as well. That was something that was kind of cool, to get a job at a restaurant. It's easiest, when you're studying, you can kind of supplement it with working at a restaurant, which was great learning for me in my 20s. So that was really good. It gave me a lot of confidence. Culturally, again, I was in Colorado. I feel like the shift was a little, cultural shock was a little less for me. And coming from the city to a place like Colorado wasn't too heavy. The shock was more when I took my next step and moved from Colorado to New York City. So when we get there, I'll tell you about that. But Colorado was easy. Yeah.
So that was your first foray into the restaurant industry, was when you first started working, when you were studying at the same time, and that piqued your interest early on.
Yes, it taught me a lot just through college. I was in two different restaurants. So learning to talk. I remember, okay, so this is a really interesting story, if I may add. I remember I was asking a colleague of mine to help me bring something to the table. And she looked at me and said, "I'm waiting for you to say please." And I looked at her and I was like, "Could you please?" And that was my learning of the conversation, asking somebody and appreciating and saying thank you and saying please. I think I had it in me, but when you're working in the stressful environment, you tend to forget these things and you're just kind of going with it. But it made me take a step back and be like, all right, regardless of the stress, you go through it with intention. And it was great. Yeah. I fell in love with the restaurant industry starting then. Yes.
That's amazing. I love that you mentioned that, because that was a learning moment for you. And for many people, they might take that as an offense, but you actually took that as a point of growth, which was incredible. So moving on to your time when you moved to New York City, right? You started the advertising company. Tell us what led you to that shift. Was it the education that you received at CU Boulder that led you to that? Tell us a little bit about that.
None of that. So it's quite a story, to be honest. So let me share it with you. When I moved to Colorado, when I moved from Colorado and came to New York City, I remember when I landed, I think it was an afternoon flight. I might have gotten in at about 4 or 5 o'clock, immediately left my bags. And I was staying with my aunt who was in the Upper East Side at that time.
Yeah.
And I left my bags and walked to Times Square.
Wow.
And the moment of being in New York City, that was my first time. I'd never visited. And so I arrived and I looked up and I couldn't stop looking at it. And this is a 20-year-old born and raised in India, in New York City by herself, ready to conquer the world. I just couldn't believe it,
Incredible.
but it was all awesome. And that moment still comes back to me because now I've been here for decades and it's my city and I love it with the same passion that I had when I was standing there the first day. And so what happened after that? I landed without a job. I knew I wanted to be in the city. I did not want to own a car. So I was looking for a city that had a good commute system. And that's actually how I picked New York City. I had a choice between San Francisco, Boston, and New York. And I said, well, New York it is. And I couldn't have made a better decision than that.
Yeah.
So I came here and I remember that it took me at least, I think, almost 2 months to find a job. And I was first, it's also actually, let me correct that. It took me 30 days to find a job, but I moved around. I had spoken to a lot of people. I applied to a lot of jobs. And I think it was somewhere around 30 days when I realized this is not working for me. And I really miss home and I'm kind of exhausted and it's been a bit much and it kind of caught up with me. So I decided to go back home and I had applied for a job and the interview was, I think it was a Thursday. I think it was a Thursday or a Wednesday and I was flying out that weekend. So my tickets were booked. And I said, okay, I'm going to give this one shot and we'll see what happens. And so I went in for an interview on Wednesday. I met with 2 founders of the company. And I had such a good time at that interview. It was just the best. It was an advertising company. How did I pick it? Don't ask. I've done English literature as a background. And I was just looking to, just put a foot in the door. And so the interview was fantastic. We just had a great time talking to each other.
That's so great.
And they asked me to come in. Yeah. And they asked me to come in the next day. So I was telling my parents, well, I'm flying out now, but this is a second interview. We'll see how it goes. And I met the other 2 founders of the company. And that was excellent. They made me meet all the people in it was a startup. So we were there were 6 people hiring their 7th person.
Okay.
But the interview went well. I got the job on Friday. I canceled my tickets that evening.
Wow. Okay.
I was meant to stay. Yeah.
Incredible.
And that's how I got into advertising.
You just followed your gut and your intuition with that decision, right? That's
and it was just a foot in the door.
Yeah. That's not a very common thing you see with people. They're often like, should I do this? Should I not? Most people are risk averse, right? So it's not something you see very often. And that's really admirable.
Yeah.
And so where you said that you rose to a very senior position at that company. Tell us about that journey.
Yes. So it was a foot in the door. I joined in as the front desk human that's going to be attending to calls and getting people in. So it was very simple. But then over time, I would say a couple of months in, I was speaking to the director of operations over there and I kind of was very excited with what he was doing. I started giving him ideas. So our advertising company was point of sale advertising. So we did indoor billboards and and we were in pharmacy. So we were in Walgreens, CVS, Duane Reade, and he managed that inventory. And at that time, when I actually joined, we only had Duane Reade. We went up and added Walgreens and CVS to the mix a little later in the company. But what was interesting is my conversations were with him and he was not in New York. And I believe this is something everybody knows, but you're either type A or you're not. And I realized that I had that drive already in wanting to do, maybe add to it or whatever he was doing. And he wasn't in New York. He was outside. I think he was in North Carolina. But what that got to is me being fearless to add my ideas. And my bosses saw that. And so they asked me, it was, it also kind of fits where people see the value
Yeah,
you bring to the table and they recognize it.
absolutely.
So I was at a good place where they did exactly that. And they gave me a chance to
Hmm.
execute the next billboards we were bringing out
Wow.
and execute
Okay.
it and get them on in all
Wow.
Dwayne Reeds in the city. So that
And
was
how
the
long were you at the company when that happened?
so I think I'd been there for about six months. So it was just still at the
Wow.
beginnings,
Okay.
but yeah. And I made it a game. So what I did is I said, done, we're not going to hire another company to do this. We're going to do this internally. I got
Hmm.
all the bosses, their
Hmm.
wives joined, some of the kids came on board. We had
Yeah.
about 6 or 7 cars. I
Wow.
loaded up with the maps. I told them exactly which Dwayne Reeds to hit, manager letters.
Yeah.
The product was in their car and it was a game for 2 days. I swear, you wouldn't even believe this. We had such a good time because
Incredible.
everybody understood what it
Yeah.
takes to be on the ground when you're installing things. So they understood what the managers asked, how long it took, regardless of the
Mhm.
timeline and
Mhm.
how many stores you wanted to hit, the interruptions they had, the no parking, the parking and the tickets. So it
Yeah.
was so much fun. We completed in 2 days. There was a team
Wow.
that won. But my
Yeah.
bosses came to me and said that was one of the best things we've done because we've learned so much from
Yeah.
that one experience of going out and doing this
Incredible.
ourselves.
Yeah.
And so
So
then
not
they
only did you
approached
save
me.
them money, but you
Yeah.
also showed them the initiative that it can actually be done in-house without hiring an external consultant,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And we got it in-house. It went so well. We learned so much. Oh my
Yeah.
God. And that's it. That was the me starting in operations. They asked me to take over
Wow.
and yeah, I
Wow.
started.
So have you always had the sense of taking the initiative? When you see an opening, you just go
Yeah.
for it, that kind of attitude, go-getter
Yes.
sort of attitude. Yeah.
I think go-getter attitude for sure.
Yeah.
Making the decisions. I think
Yeah.
making a decision making is extremely important in your life. And I give credit to my father for it. I do it on a daily basis that he from a very young age asked me to make my own decisions. Good,
Wow.
bad, ugly, does not
Yeah.
matter. Make a
Yeah.
decision. And so over the years, I've made so many decisions. I'm sure
Yeah.
many were bad. But what I've
Mm.
done is learned from them and moved on
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
you make so many decisions, you realize that you don't really
Yeah.
have time. You just learn from it and move on and make the next one. That's exactly what I did. I was given an opportunity. I took it
Right. Right.
and showed the initiative and made the decision to want to do it. And
Yeah.
so it just has, it's a full circle for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's another incredibly uncommon thing because many people do months of research before even making that
Yeah.
decision. But what you won't realize is by the time you make that decision, you already missed out on so much that
Yeah.
you could have prevented, right? So take that leap, make the mistakes,
Yes.
right?
Make the mistakes. That is
Yeah.
very true. It is
Yeah.
something I was going to say. Making mistakes is very important. You learn
Very
from them and
important.
then you get
Yeah.
better at making
Yeah,
those decisions.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I had the complete opposite upbringing from what you had. I was always told to like think 100 times before you
Yeah.
even take that step, before you jump in a pool or, just anything. And so it took me a lot of unlearning to
Yeah.
understand that you need to take that step before thinking about it too much or overthinking. And that's really key to being an entrepreneur, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You got to take the leap.
yeah,
If something feels right and you don't have
yeah.
to do so much research, but once you start making decisions, the idea is you listen to the few things that are important to
Mm-hmm,
capture and then you
mm-hmm.
take the leap. And I've done that many times and I can tell you that I made bad decisions and I will over the podcast tell you those too. But what it did, it made me
Yeah.
better at making
Yes,
good
yes,
decisions.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, that's a great point. So following your tenure at the advertising company, what was that like? So when you did leave, why did you decide to leave and what followed after that?
I was young, I was in love
Yep.
and That
Know the feeling.
and that was the reason I made the decision to leave the company, even though I was doing
Uh-huh.
very well. I had built some very strong relationships in the
Mm-hmm.
company, but I followed love and I went back to
Mm-hmm.
India. And so it was bittersweet, but again, when you make decisions, I thought through this one, but it didn't go the way I had planned. But the idea was that was the reason why I let go of this company and moved back to India. I did some other different wonderful things.
Uh-huh.
I worked with an Indian digital company, Times Internet, one of the
Okay.
largest in India, and
Okay.
helped them build partnerships with American companies. So I was
Wow.
a
Yeah.
global partnership, uh,
That's,
part of the team. Yeah, I helped build partnerships with Uber, Airbnb, like just because they were just coming into India. So how
yeah.
to promote them and put them out. Yeah. So that was a great experience. And
Yeah.
going
That's
back
great.
home,
Yeah.
but it just again, it didn't fit. And home was in New York City for me. So
Yeah.
I
You felt
realized that
cold.
after a couple of years and
Yeah.
wait to come back. Yeah.
That's so great. And so when you moved back to New York City, what were the steps that you took to get back into the rhythm of things?
Yeah. Well, when I I came back with again
Yeah.
no job in
Yeah.
sight, I just knew I needed to be back.
Yeah.
I came again. There was a little bit of fear because I was coming back into the
Mm-hmm.
market after being away from it for 4 years and things had
Yeah.
changed. So advertising was another world in that time. When I came
Yeah.
back, I went for a couple of interviews. I couldn't really connect with either
Yeah.
the teams or the product. And I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
very sure if this was it. So I started exploring other ideas.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, an honest story. I was on Facebook, just kind of exploring different things
Yeah.
when I came across an ad for ICC, which is the International Culinary Center in New York
Oh,
City.
yeah. Okay.
And I just kind of started exploring. I thought I'd always enjoyed being in restaurants. I'm a
Uh-huh.
good cook. I love eating good food. Maybe I could be a chef. And so I went and explored that option. I went to ICC,
Mm-hmm.
talked to them again again, you're trying to make a decision, right? So what you're doing is making an informed decision, but you're
Yeah.
taking the next steps quickly instead of waiting too long. So
Yeah.
the next step was, let's go meet them. Let's see what they
Yeah.
have to offer. I went and spoke to somebody there. I said, okay, what are the courses that are starting? They said the chef course is starting in about 6 months, 8 months, because it was a summer course. I
Mm-hmm.
was in September, I think September, October. And I said, okay, I can't wait that long. What is starting sooner than that? So they said, there's a wine course, a part time wine course that is starting. I was
Okay.
like, done. I
Great.
enjoy drinking. I'd
Yeah.
love to know more about wine. That would be fantastic. Sign me up because the intention was to stay here and
Yeah.
not go back.
Yeah.
And so I enrolled myself, started studying. In the meantime, applied to a Michelin star restaurant
Mm.
and got a call from Gunter Seeger,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
was just started his restaurant named
Okay.
after him in West Village. And
Wow.
I joined him. And then I stayed with that restaurant for 3 years, built their wine
Okay.
list,
Incredible.
had a fantastic, great learning. That chef
Yeah.
is one of my favorites to work for, but great
Wow.
learning. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So from advertising, putting up
Yes.
billboards to tasting wine and becoming a wine expert, right?
Yeah.
That's such an incredible curve. What was something that when you did enter these Michelin star restaurants, and I'm being an outsider, I'm not in that, I've never been in that industry, but from what I've seen on TV, from different TV shows and reality shows, is it a high pressure environment like what we see? Like, are they so fastidious about perfection and achieving the highest level of, the depth of perfection that they try to achieve, right? Uh-huh.
100%. It is all of that and maybe even a little more depending on the restaurant and
Wow.
the chef you're working with.
Yeah.
These years in the hospitality industry, and I must have spent almost 7 years in it,
Mhm.
they've really taught me
Mm.
so much. I've gotten stronger and I've built myself, just to have a thick skin. But at the same
Right.
time, the power of listening, the art of
Mhm.
listening, as I say
Mhm.
often, comes from my time in that industry to have to be in this environment where the chef
Mhm.
is the center of it all. Time sensitive because every dish is plated by
Right.
order. So every table goes out one at a time
Yeah.
and the dish needs to look perfect. The temperature has to be cooked. The food has to be cooked at perfect temperature. It has to stay at that temperature before it leaves the kitchen and hits the table.
Hmm.
It's just gorgeous. It's meticulous. And when you're in the zone, you're in the zone. You're
Right.
not out there and you're not thinking about what's happening at home. No, you're
Yeah.
present. And that's how you succeed, is being present. And I did service. And when you're doing service, you're also in the kitchen. The three Michelin stars restaurant that I worked at, per se, I give it so much credit for how much I've gained in my art of listening, because in the kitchen, with
Right.
everyone talking and the dishes making the sound, your
Hmm.
ears are just plugged in to listen to the chef and what
Wow.
his needs are to complete the order so it can go and so you can take it to the table and talk to
Yeah.
the guests. But
Yeah.
it's been an amazing experience. Amazing.
Wow.
Crazy, wild as wild can be, but
Yeah.
amazing.
And
Yeah.
what's so interesting is that most people would probably spend a week in high pressure situations, environments like this, and
Yeah.
just think that it's not for them and they're not cut out for it. And but you stayed for 7 years, right? Through that, you
Yes.
learned so much because you were so receptive to learning, right? To giving it
100%.
your everything, to achieving that level of perfection that is commanded by a Michelin star um, restaurant. Adapting,
Adapting to the
yes.
environment. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
learned to do that.
Yeah.
Being a woman from another country,
Hmm.
English is my second language. So I knew that all of these things have always been, in the back of my mind. But at the
Yeah.
same time, they never stopped me.
Yeah.
And I didn't even consider them to
Mm,
be a negative, to be honest. That's another way to move forward, is never underestimate yourself, or
absolutely.
never blame things or find reasons to
Hmm.
say that you were not able to succeed. And these were
Yeah.
all reasons to me. So they were in the
Yeah.
I never thought
Absolutely.
about them,
Yeah.
and kind of continued moving forward,
Hmm.
adapting. Learning was big. And I've always enjoyed that,
Yeah.
taking the learning from crazy environments. Yeah.
So great. And yeah, I totally resonate. These are all just reasons and excuses to not achieve your goals and dreams, right? But have you, when you were in that situation, because from what I've heard, it is a heavily male dominated industry. From what I've seen, I don't know how far that's true. So please correct me. But
It is.
what it is, how did you ever feel like, I need to work extra hard to be noticed? I need to do more than my counterpart,
So many
you know?
times. So
Yeah.
many times. So many times I've been sidelined.
Yeah.
So many times put on the back because a guy could do this and do it faster and can
Yeah.
manage, and he's built in a certain way. And so many times over. But again, I never let that hold
Mhm.
me back. I never let that hurt me to the point that it would stop me from doing what
Mhm.
I'm doing. So that, I think, was very important. Even though I will tell you my exit was because of that reason, one of those reasons,
Really?
with
Okay.
that being one of the reasons, and I'll tell you that story. But that being said, during the tenure, there were many moments, but I never let them take me down. I mean, that's just life, it gives
Yeah.
you the punches and you take them, but don't allow yourself to feel so negative, learn to bounce back. And that's what I've done by adapting, moving, making so many decisions, moving through different parts and countries and
Yeah.
languages, just kind of moving around in industries. I've learned to bounce back and
Right.
bounce back
Right.
faster as I move along. So,
Yeah. That's so great.
yeah, people don't affect me as much.
That is incredibly rare. I must tell you, that is very rare. And we need more of that. We need to see more
Yes,
examples like you. And I'm hoping that this is that platform where we can show people that it's
I
definitely
hope so.
possible.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Let go.
Uh,
Let go.
yeah. And so when you were in that very high pressure food industry, was there a percentage that you noticed that there were women like you, like a ratio of men to women, I guess you could call it? And what percentage actually stayed in the long term? Did that percentage reduce?
Yes, it does. I mean, I think it's harder and that's one of the reasons why I left. So there were a
Yeah.
few reasons, but one of them was I was getting tired. I was getting
Yeah.
physically tired. It's a very demanding job. It requires you to be present, to lift heavy things, and to
Mhm.
walk. I mean, I used to do 30,000 steps a day. That's wild.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah. So you get tired, and I was. So it's harder. So I feel like
Mhm.
as you get older, it's a
Mhm.
tougher industry to be in. Even though I know so many sommeliers right now out
Mm.
there that are women and doing fantastically well, and they
Yeah.
can, and you definitely can do it. I just feel it was enough for me, but there were other reasons. So it was a compounded effect of now is the time to move.
Okay. So, yeah, what were those other reasons that led you to leaving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so one of them was that I'd done everything that I'd hoped for. I wanted to be a
Mhm.
general manager of a restaurant, and I became a general manager of a restaurant. So I ran a restaurant. I ran a wine bar as a general manager as well. So that was also on my list, and I had accomplished
Yeah.
that.
Wow.
So I'd reached where I wanted to be, and
Uh-huh.
it was good.
Yeah.
But I wasn't absolutely in love with everything. So I was getting tired. I reached where I wanted to be. COVID was really difficult on our industries. So that was one of the reasons. And I'd had an episode with a restaurant, I wouldn't name it, with a gentleman, I wouldn't call him a gentleman, let me rephrase, but a colleague of mine who,
Yeah.
I think the stress of it all hit him
Mhm.
and he didn't know how to
Mm.
process it. So he put it on me and it was very aggressive and unnecessary. And it was a bit too much. And when I experienced that, and that's the first time I'd experienced it, which had become a little
Mhm.
on a physical note, and
Mm.
I had to step back
Yeah.
and recalibrate with myself and kind
Right.
of see if that's what I was interested in. And right away, I
Yeah.
realized, no, I gotta go. I was
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So the next decision was, I'm done. What's
Yeah.
next?
So you were completely done with that industry. It was not just a restaurant, but you wanted to leave, wanted to be done with the industry.
And I
Okay.
remember having a conversation with my father. Again,
Mhm.
he's been pivotal in my life many times over. Even my mother has because she's such a good cook. And so I've eaten such good food since I can remember that
Mhm.
all these factors have helped me find my
Mhm.
journey. Like good food got me into the industry, actually, the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
And she's one of my favorite hosts. So taking care of people, hosting them has been something I've enjoyed doing since I was a kid. So that's another aspect in the restaurant industry I enjoy deeply is
Yeah.
to serve my guests. And one of the skill sets that I developed is to know what they want before they know what they want. So
Yeah.
anticipating their needs.
Anticipating needs. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, before they know it. So all of that
Great.
comes from growing
Yeah.
up years. So I was
Mhm.
sitting with my father and I said, I'm done. And I
Uh-huh.
don't know what next, to be honest. I
Okay.
want to translate my skill sets, but I don't know what next. So he
Mhm.
gave me a couple of ideas. He talked about operations being my strong suit and kind
Mm.
of going back into maybe staying in the industry and going into companies that are working on the back end and operationally maybe doing something with coding and then a couple of minutes later he says, "Ooh, but how about real estate?"
Uh-huh.
And, when you hear something and it sticks with you, or it's
Yeah.
just, hold on. And that's the moment I had when he said it. There was something about
Mhm.
it that made me want to explore it a little more. And I took it
Mhm.
on myself. And the next day itself, I kind of looked into it. What do I need to get my
Yeah.
license? My brother in law was in real estate. So my dad said, "Why don't you talk to him?" And I said, "Done." The next day, I met
Mhm.
him. And I asked him, "What do you think? Is this even something I should explore?"
Yeah.
And I loved his answer. Again, these things all matter as you move along. And his
Yeah.
answer was,
Mhm.
take the test and see how you feel. Take the
Yeah.
test.
Yeah.
And fine, if that's what it takes, let's do it. And I was still working at the restaurant at that time. So, I had a job and an income and I studied, and the barrier to entry is low for real estate. You have to study.
Mm,
You study for 3 months. You take the
mhm.
test, and you get your license, and then you interview with the different brokerages and hang your license with one. And that's
Yeah.
what I did. I studied, got my
Wow.
license, quit my
Yep.
restaurant industry because I wanted to go full time,
Yeah.
guns
Yeah.
blazing. Let's do it. This is
Yeah.
it. And I joined Coldwell Banker Warburg, and I
That's
haven't looked
great.
back. It's been one of the best decisions I've made
Incredible.
coming
And
into real estate. Yeah.
how long ago was that? Is that pandemic? During the pandemic?
Yeah, that's been a few years now. And so I feel accomplished already. I have
Incredible.
a
Yeah.
business that I started. I have my own team, Rashi NYC, and
Wonderful.
very focused on my clients. It's
That's
been
so great.
an incredible journey.
Yeah. Wow. And I want to touch on that transition, how you prepared yourself from completely pivoting from the restaurant industry to real estate,
No,
which are completely different. They have nothing in common. And most
no,
people would say, I know nothing about this industry. How am I ever gonna get to the level, because you were at a high level at the restaurant industry, right? And so
yeah.
did you ever think that, I know nothing about it? Like some people would call it imposter syndrome. Did you find that you had that thought before you took that leap?
I didn't. And I think, or let me rephrase, it was in the back of my mind, but my intention was to learn. What I've
Mhm.
learned, and this is where it comes down to. When you've moved around in different industries, and I'd changed 2 careers already, and this was my
Mhm.
third. It takes a minute before you
Mhm.
can gauge whether it's for you or it's not for you.
Mhm.
So I usually like giving 90 days, like 3 months is what I would say,
Mhm.
to give it a good shot, because it
Mhm.
takes 3 months for you to understand where you are,
Yeah.
regardless of if you're prepared or not prepared. It takes you 3 months to understand. So
Yeah.
that's what I did. In fact, in real estate, it took me a whole year to
Uh-huh.
understand
Uh-huh.
what I need to do, how to build my clientele, who to
Yeah.
go after, like how to do my marketing. It took me a minute. But I enjoyed the
Mhm.
process. I was learning
Yeah.
something new. I was in New York City, is my favorite
Right.
city. It was time to give back, which is what I was doing. And so I was getting into different homes in the city, seeing them in different caliber, all sorts of price ranges.
Uh-huh.
And so I couldn't, there was no looking back. And it took a minute. It really does take a minute, but that's okay. It's a
Right.
part of the process. It's a learning curve, and in business, that's what it is. You make some decisions, then you step back, then you make them, you learn from it and move on as you do. So
Yeah.
I would say it took me a whole
That's
year.
great. Wow.
Yeah.
But you had set yourself really well, right? Because you were already in advertising, which is a form of marketing. And
Yes.
then you had dealt with luxury clientele with the food and wine industry.
Yes.
And so that had already set you up in a way
Yeah.
to excel in real estate, right? So how did those skills inform your current role at Rashi NYC?
100%. So fine dining really was fantastic for this transition. So I came into global luxury with Coldwell Banker
Mhm.
Warburg, and it translated, right? So I knew
Mhm.
how to care for my guests who were coming in for fine dining, and now
Yeah.
in global luxury. So the art of listening stayed with me,
Mhm.
and the art of communicating too, which is really
Mhm.
important in real estate. It's not just about listening, it's also about asking the right questions,
Yeah.
which is another thing that being in the restaurant industry helped me. And so asking the
Mhm.
right questions really built it.
Yeah.
Advertising, yes, I knew how I needed to market myself, but again, you're in a different industry. It
Yeah.
takes a minute for the
Yeah.
pieces of the puzzle to come together. You're like solving a
Absolutely.
puzzle, right? And you have them all in front of you. You know the pieces because you've been in the business for a while, but to put them and see how they fit
Mhm.
is takes a minute. So I had to put some pieces, lift them out from there, put them differently, and then create this business now that is Rashi
Mhm.
NYC. But those skill sets
Mm.
of art of listening, art of communicating,
Mhm.
anticipating what my guests' needs are, what my clients' needs are. I know it. I'm
Right.
listening. Plus, I've been in the city for 20 years.
Yeah. You know it
I'm
better
a
than
big fan.
anyone.
I'm a
Yeah.
big fan. I moved
Yeah.
around neighborhoods. I've seen the neighborhoods change. I've
Yeah.
lived in Manhattan, Queens, and now in Brooklyn.
Uh-huh.
Brooklyn is home for me. So
Yeah.
it's been fantastic to kind of move around. So I can tell
Mhm.
you. So if I ask the right questions, you tell me what
Mhm.
you want, and
Mhm.
I will get you that because I know where in the city that
Right.
is. And
Yeah.
having a home is center to it all. To have a good time in the
Yeah.
city, it's
Absolutely.
center it to it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, it would be my dream job to be in beautiful homes all day. So I'm an
It
architect. I only get to design them, not be in them all day. But, that sounds wonderful.
but I must add, real
Yeah.
estate is not glamorous. It's not just glamorous. There's glamour
Hmm.
parts of it, but it's
Hmm.
actually
Yeah.
you're really
Just
in
like any
the
other industry. Yeah.
exactly. It's not as
Yes.
pretty. So
Yeah.
we do see pretty homes,
Yeah.
but we see other homes too. And when you're selling it, you're just that one person selling a home and making it look beautiful. It's just there's
Right.
so much to it. So much
Yeah.
to it.
It's all about the narrative, right? How are you
All about
presenting
the
the
narrative.
home to
It's a
your
story.
future client, right?
100%.
Seeing
You're
the
building
potential
a
in it.
story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're building a story.
Yeah. And there's also, from what I've noticed interacting with real estate agents, there's a lot of patience that you need to have as well, right? Following up with your client, making sure that, you're on top of things, they're on top of things, because people tend to forget, right? They have busy lives.
100%.
And
It's
yeah,
it's a relationship business. So,
yes. Yeah.
talking to you're the one person, you actually play a lot of roles for somebody
Yeah.
who's either buying or selling. You're a therapist, you're a friend,
Yeah.
you're a confidant, you're listening to a lot of their stories because it's important too. I
Yeah.
encourage my clients
Mhm.
to talk to me. The
Right.
reason is the more I know what you're looking for and how you want to
Hmm.
live your life, the better I can
Yeah.
hear and get you the property that fits you the best or sell your property. What's your need? What timing are you looking at? And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And so all of those things very much matter in this industry.
Yeah.
So talking to humans is one of my favorite things to do is
The human
listening to
psyche.
their,
Yeah.
yeah, it's their stories. I have such a good time doing that. I love it. I love it.
And people can see that. They see that they feel heard, and
Yeah.
listened to by you, and that makes them trust you more rather than someone who knows the industry really well but doesn't have the time to invest in these relationships, right? So you really have to
Correct.
make them feel heard as well.
A hundred
Yeah.
percent.
I think that's having started my own architecture practice. I often listen to real estate agents and, for example, Ryan Serhant. I listen to a lot of what he has to say. And I think, we as architects also need to be more like that. We need to understand our clients better and not just try to sell pretty pictures, right? Similar to the real estate agents. Yeah.
Very true. You have to
Yeah.
hear the stories, you understand them. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're able to cater to their needs so much
Yes.
better with the
Yes.
stories. Yes.
So,
And you need to tell your story too. It's very important to connect because otherwise it's hard for them to tell you your story. And
mhm.
because I was able to do that in the restaurant industry. So the way I say this very often is, and I made so many friends from my restaurant industry, not just my peers, but my
Yeah.
guests. I actually have a list of friends from the
Yeah.
guest lists, guests I met over the years in the
Uh
different
huh. Uh
restaurants.
huh.
So I used to have, because it's fine dining, you're going in for an experience. So you're either there for about a 2 hour, 3 hour experience, depending on the
Mm.
restaurant you're going to. In that much time, I would connect with my guests so deeply that we'd keep in touch. They'd come to the restaurant and make sure they make the reservation with me because they want to hang with me and see what's going on in life. That was a 2 hour, 3 hour journey. And moving
Yeah.
that to real estate, it's a
Yeah.
lifelong journey with the same connect. The intention is still the same. The intention is to want to serve you. So it's
Yeah.
still a service industry, which I love. And I'm
Mm.
catering to people for a longer term. They're
Mhm.
friends. My
Yeah.
clients are now my
Yeah.
friends.
Right.
So you're in their life for a long time. And I love
Yeah.
that. So it wasn't just a 3 hour journey. It was
Yeah.
like, I'm in your life for long, forever.
Right. And it's a no-brainer. They would trust you without even thinking twice because they know you so well, right?
I'm a cat sitter for my clients' cats, for some of my
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
I'm a
Wow.
I'm a cat mama, so they know, And they'd rather have me come to
Right.
their house than anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm a cat sitter
Wow.
for my clients.
It's incredible. And wow, so often I hear about, you need to draw the line with clients and you need to kind of, make it clear that it's a professional working relationships.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's okay to be a little more involved with them, right? To build that relationship a little more.
Be the human.
Right. Yeah.
Be the human in the relationship. Again, if you're listening, to respond
Uh-huh.
with
Yeah.
honesty. It just connects much deep.
Right. And if you were to tell someone who wants to start their business 3 relationship building tips or, because you are so good at that, since you've been doing that all your life. One thing I noticed when we first met is you asked me for my birthday, which is such a
Yes.
personal thing, right? Not many people even think about that. And I love that. That immediately gave me the impression that you care about building relationships. What are some other things that you do to build that?
So let me quickly tell you a story on that birthday
Yeah.
thing. Is
Please.
that my
Yes.
advertising company,
Uh-huh.
my mentor who's not there anymore, but
Mhm.
he used to come in every day to his
Mhm.
desk, open his diary, pick up the
Uh-huh.
phone. That's the first thing he did. Come, open his diary, pick up the phone, and sing a happy birthday to. And he would
Wow.
make a couple of calls and say happy birthday. And that's how his
Okay.
day started. That has
Wow.
stayed with me.
Yeah.
So the reason I took your birthday is so that I can
Mhm.
call you and sing happy birthday to you. So
God, I love that.
again, things you learn over the
Mm.
years, again, art
Yeah.
of listening. So that's what I would say is one more relationship building technique is to listen.
Mm.
We don't realize, and it is true that I wasn't listening to people half my life. I
Mm.
started listening to them much later on. And the reason is when you're listening, you should not be thinking what your response is. You should
Yes.
actually be truly listening to the words that
Mm.
the other person is saying. So being present is
Mhm.
very, very important. It really truly builds relationships because your
Mhm.
response will be to what they just said. And a client
Yeah.
just recently told me that because she was talking and saying something about how she's planning to celebrate her birthday. And I gave a response to her on exactly what she had said. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh my God, I really feel like I'm heard today. Actually,
Wow.
I feel like you've seen me and heard me today." And
Yeah.
for someone to say that, they must have felt it.
Yes.
So again,
Absolutely.
when you're listening, listen. Talk less, listen more. It adds
Yeah. Mhm.
so much value to the relationship.
That is so true. And I feel like in today's world with, they call it the attention economy.
Yes.
So getting someone's attention is impossible because of all
Yeah.
these distractions that we have.
So
I think
many.
the art of listening is, I don't want to say diminishing, but I think we need to learn more. We need to learn
Yes.
how to do it better in today's economy.
And 100%. And you'll do it
Yeah.
better as if you also learn to stay quiet for a minute. Like,
Mm.
take a moment. Not everything needs to have your opinion. It's important to listen
Yes.
to others' opinion. And if they ask for yours, give it. Otherwise, take it in.
Mhm.
I do that a lot in social events. I would be
Yeah.
listening more than
Yeah.
talking. I feel the
Yeah.
need to take in the stories. And if
Right.
somebody asks for mine, I would say it.
Yeah.
But, I enjoy people's
Yeah.
stories.
And I also see that you have a lot of physical cues. So you're nodding your head when you're listening,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
demonstrates that you're actively listening, right? And you're
Yes.
you're using gestures,
Yeah.
which is another another way to present you're listening. And so all of this is your years of experience across different industries, serving clientele, right? Uh,
100%.
yeah,
100%.
it's incredible. I want to quickly ask a question about your time back in the food and wine industry. It's been a few years since you left that industry, right? Have you seen any reform in terms of making women feel more accepted? Have you seen a greater number of women enter the industry and stay longer and feel supported?
Stay longer, I have not, but I have seen a lot of, and I'm in touch with a lot of friends as well in the industry,
Hmm.
but I've seen a lot of women coming out, doing more, even the restaurants appreciating them more.
Mm.
The Me Too movement happened when I was in the restaurant industry. So since then, things have changed quite
Okay.
a bit. I think there's a long way to go because I'm not now in the field to know how they're treated on the floor. But I can tell you from my conversations and what I'm seeing is,
Mhm.
yeah, they're just, it's getting better. But I feel like it's getting better in the world because
Yeah.
women are standing up. We're also not sitting back
Yeah.
and taking it easy. We're
Absolutely.
also, getting up and speaking our mind and,
Yes. Yes.
you know, pushing
We're
back.
calling things out. Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
calling things out. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Exactly.
things are changing. But when
Yeah.
something is so grandfathered in, like it's so
Yes.
in the industry, it
Yeah.
takes a minute for it to change. So I think it's
Yeah.
coming. And it'll be fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a
Absolutely.
hard industry to be in for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine. And being from a similar industry, which is
Yeah.
so heavily main dominated, construction, architecture, you're often like, I've probably never seen a female architect, right? It's an uncommon thing to see, right? And also getting licensure is a huge barrier for us, like because it doesn't really support mothers. It takes 10 years to become licensed, and
Yeah.
it's incredibly challenging. So it's great. Even in this industry, I do see things moving in the right direction, but it's going to take some
It
time.
takes time.
I think we're doing all the right things and
I think so
just
too.
keep doing them. And
Another
yeah,
thing that we're doing, which is really working for us, is supporting each other. So the
yes,
number of groups I've joined and women-led groups, oh my God, listening to everybody's stories, seeing how
yeah,
they've evolved. And,
hmm,
I've had a spiritual journey as well. So I know that every time I connect with these women, they want to hear where I've been, what I've done, and to share
yeah,
those stories. You
wow,
take a little bit from here and a little bit from there. It
huh,
adds, it adds, it all adds up to the human being in the end you're going to turn to be. So
does absolutely,
sharing it with each other is very important, and that's
yeah,
that's the reason for this is take my stories and
yeah.
run with it, learn from it.
Incredible.
Yeah.
One last question. If you could tell a woman who has been thinking of starting her own business, being an entrepreneur, she's too afraid to take the leap, what's one line you would tell her to encourage
Yeah.
her?
When you're starting your business is that the learning curve is pure magic. So take it in, trust the process, own your power, and know that if you want it, you'll get it.
I love it. Yeah, I love that. That's perfection. Thank you so much, Rashi. I'm so
Yes.
inspired. And honestly, every aspect of your journey, every phase, the three different careers that you had have really inspired me to take that next step and not be afraid. And that's really one thing I've learned is not fear anything and just trust your intuition, right? So I hope to see your firm become very successful in the future and
Thank you.
all my very best. And thank you so much for being here on the Exit Interview podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And you can reach out anytime you want. You're having a down date, just give me a call. I'll cheer you up.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Rachi.
much. Thanks for having me.
Okay.